And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Growth Talk. I'm here with ISTP jumper Uzair, my good buddy from the OP community, and we're here to talk about growth stuff. Uzair, how's it going, man?
Nice. Good, man. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to have you on, and glad to finally. We've never actually done a video together. I think it's our first one.
I know we haven't, right? I've been. I think yours was one of the first videos I ever saw. Like your interview with Benjamin, because I got typed, and I was like, oh, what do other ISTPs look like? And then I saw yours, and I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I kind of vibe with this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. There's like some similarities there. Was there anyone that could you find any other TI and I people that you could relate to, or was that like, I think there weren't many.
Right? There weren't many. There's like, we have like a little small group chat now, so I kind of relate to those guys. Probably the person I relate to the most is Manny, he's like 2 clicks off of me. He's the observer decider part. He's way more chill with people, you know, so that part is missing. Yeah. But otherwise, just like how we kind of think, and like I would say he's the person I relate to the most.
Yeah, totally. I relate to Manny a lot too, despite him being way more far off than me. Well, we're both blast class, so maybe it's not as far off.
Oh yeah,
I guess.
that's true.
Like,
yeah.
Usually, like, I can tell that we kind of think differently, but the same. Like, we come to the same conclusion somehow, and we kind of always have the same. We both like and dislike the same things. We're always on the same page there. It feels like, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Manny's special. He's like different than the other NITIs, I would say, that I've seen. Like, I think Manny sticks out. Like, you wouldn't necessarily type him as an ITI. I think if you watched him, like Manny does a lot of FE, I would say. But
yeah, he does, and he's not like usually. A lot of people with like TI in the middle, they're a little bit more. To me, they come off a little bit more TI because they're double siders. They can kind of like they're like more cool with kind of like sharing it. But he's like pretty chill. Like he's like, maybe that's the boss last, right? Because it's just like you're not like
maybe putting
your opinion on other people, you know. So that makes you kind of a little bit more mellowed out.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like people that have TI second, they're a lot more confident with just swinging that thing around, like hitting people in the face with it.
Yeah.
Funny way to describe that, but they're not as afraid to offend people with it. Whereas I feel like me and you, kind of some of the time, I think.
Yeah, it does back. I also see that with my NI. I'm like much more okay with kind of going off a cliff on it because it's just like, yeah, what's a big deal? Or like, you know what I mean? I'm not. I don't care if I'm wrong about it, you know. Whereas I think it's probably something similar like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if that's the same with SE for me. I guess it could, because a lot of times I am just like fuck planning. I don't give a shit. Like, it's fine. You know.
Yeah. It'll work out.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, it's not really going to bother me anyway. So I might as well not give a shit that much, right? Yeah, because it's double observing for you. What was the hand motion again for double? Was it a?
Oh, that.
No, that wasn't it.
This.
It was the double deciding. And
this is double deciding and this double observing.
So yeah, man. Welcome to the show. And the first thing usually I ask on here is kind of what would you say is the TI and I like archetype, or what's like the
dude? Yeah.
How would you describe the type? Is it?
I have no idea. I think that like you get typed. So I got typed a long time ago, like long ass time, like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I'm still like trying to understand, like, oh, what's an IP or what is TI, or like, and I'm like slowly kind of getting it. What a TI and I, or an ISTP even in life, I don't know. I don't know if you can really. What do they like? I think that all deciders are like TIs. They're like a little bit polite, I guess, and like with feminine D and
more polite.
Like not very.
Stereotype is,
Yeah, I think the stereotype is like of something else. It's like someone who's like really okay with like kind of like going against the like tribe, you know, like, or kind of like pushing up against people. And I think that's not really what I've observed, right? Usually when I see them, kind of like probably not like a decider, right? Probably not like a IP. I think IPs kind of have a little bit of the vibe of like, I'm not really going to tell you what to do, and just you know,
Don't tell me what
I'll
to
like
do.
just don't tell me what to do, and
Yeah.
we find I like you, you like me. You know, let's try to get along a little bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I don't know. It's just like this is a bad answer, but like I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I
a tough
think
question to answer. I'm
yeah.
like
What do
trying to
you?
think of a better way to like ask something like that, but I realized like, okay, yeah, it's hard to just have that ready to like, what does this type look like?
I
Especially
think
if it's your own type,
I
you
think
know?
I think what it is. It's also like that is also a little bit of being an IP, right? It's just that I'm not going to tell other people what that this type. I can tell you what how my type makes sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it starts to become like a little bit like dicey when I'm like, oh, this is what this type is, and this is what other people are like. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm sure like maybe you have that reluctance too, right? And I think that is a little bit like of like the why am I I'm not gonna like have opinions about stuff that could be wrong that could piss people off that I don't care about. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
Yeah.
save that all I'm not gonna save all like the spiciness for stuff I care
Mhm.
about, you know?
Sure.
And I'm gonna try to get along with everything else. So yeah, I
But I
think
think,
that's maybe what it
I
is.
think we're okay with, we have a license to piss people off with it. Like we can say like shitty stuff about ISTP because we are one. So it's like not a big
That's
deal.
true.
But we're not like,
That's true.
it'd be different if we were
Yeah.
talking about a different type. I mean, I shit
I
on
can
my own
I
type all the time.
can
Because I feel like that's the only
yeah,
one I get away with.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Yeah. And I think I could probably shit on like TI and I especially and like maybe like my animal stackish. I see every now and then like people who are like kind of close to my type or like TI or IPs or whatever the like the annoying things that they do. We can get
Mhm.
into it later, but just like it's yeah it's embarrassing, you know, when you see
I
it.
think it sticks out for us too. Like when somebody's like overdoing the TI thing, it's like, oh God. It's like I remember when I
You
did
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah, but you know what's insidious is that is I think everyone goes through that like argumentative phase, right? Whether you're TI or
Yeah.
not, and then
Sure.
that's embarrassing. And I think what is still embarrassing is that when you learn not to do because I think like why do ICTPs or TI first? Why is it paired with FE? Right? It's just that you're you have something to convince people of, and then you're kind of gauging whether they're down with it or not, right? Like
Mhm.
that is the TI-FE like back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna say something and I'm gonna gauge if it landed or not, right?
Mhm.
And so when you're argumentative, like you can see that it's not landing, right? It's like you have to like really bonk yourself like against the wall constantly to not realize that,
Yeah.
especially at like a certain age, you know? And so but the thing is like that desire to like, oh, I have a perspective, and then I kind of want to like, maybe less for you because you're last. But for me, I
Yeah.
definitely feel it. It's like, oh, I think this about this thing, and I would like it if you thought that too, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and so like the maneuvering that you do to do that, and more embarrassingly, like what you give up to try to convince people of your opinion, you know, like,
Mhm.
um,
Do you feel like when you are sharing
so
that, like you are trying to convince people, or
I am. If I'm honest, I am. It's like
okay?
I think like my opinion on and this is also like it's like sleep consume, right? It's a little bit
Mhm.
like I've also like started processing like my I should have put my type in the little description thing, but like I'm whatever I'm TI and
I can put it somewhere.
sleep
Don't worry.
consume last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um so part of it is like it's like the sleepover play, and I
Mhm.
think I can't tell if it's like consume or what part of it is. I kind of immediately know my opinion on something, and then the demon play part of it is like, oh, how do I pretend that I don't? How do I pretend I'm being open minded right now? You know, it's like or
Yeah.
like I'm like
Yeah. I
going
know
back and
that.
forth,
Yeah.
like so because I didn't see that before, right? Because I saw like, oh, I have an opinion, obviously, and then I am not foisting it on other people, and I'm trying to like still like go back and forth with them. That's isn't that kind of like FE ish, right? But
Yeah.
when I spoke to like I speak to Anna who is lead FE, right? And we'd like
Uh,
triangulate a lot and like what where we're similar and then where we're different. And I
uh,
think one of the key things is that like at least play first or DE or something like that. They're a lot more open minded, you know, like they're having a conversation. It's like, oh no, tell me, like, oh, interesting. And then after the conversation, they're like, oh, like I didn't really agree with that, or maybe I kind of feel this way about that, right?
yeah. Uh-huh.
whereas for me, and I don't know if you relate to this, is that I kind of immediately know whether I agree or disagree, and then it's all about like how do I either put in my opinion in a soft way, not piss off the other person, or just completely pretend that I like if I gauge that they're not willing to hear it, like how do I just keep a straight face, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's not necessarily what they're struggling with, you know, as like or I don't know. Again, I feel a little bit dicey whenever I say like, oh, the FEs are not struggling with that, because some I like hear the voice of like some FE being like, actually, I do. Don't tell me, you know, don't tell me who I am, right?
Yeah. There's a pattern of it happening. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily happen for everyone, sure.
Right. Yeah, and everyone does everything, and everybody's gonna relate to like 90% of everything that everyone does. You know, like we're all human at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's my disclaimer. So, what was I saying? So yeah, so I think like that is like a TI motivation, and then what I think is like what I think is like embarrassing is that like, okay, you have an opinion about something, right? And then you want to convince people. It's like, what do you care about more, right? Like, do you care? Wouldn't it be better if just like you just got along with this person, right? Like, why do you need to tell them this thing that they're not gonna want to hear, right? Like, they're not asking you for it. I don't know if you relate to this, right? This is like I definitely very much strongly feel this, right? It's just like let's say like someone is like a little bit like kind of like not that self-aware about something, right? I will feel the need to be like, and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm really good with people and da 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 da. And I'm kind of like, everybody thinks you are an asshole, you know? Like, I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
And I feel the need to tell you that somehow. I'm not going to tell you. Actually, everyone thinks you're an. If I was a double-sided, maybe I could do that. And I'm like, oh, I definitely want to.
Yeah, but there's like a need. You feel like I don't feel comfortable with you not knowing that.
Yes.
Same thing. Like somehow.
Yeah, and it's so dumb, you know, and it's just especially dumb. Like, let's say if you're, so what I see some IPs do is that like what does any like young person or teenager want, right? You want to be friends, you want to like get a job, or you want to like the opposite side, or like whatever, like have like romantic interests, right? Yeah. And then like those are your goals and desires, right? Why have this other stupid thing, right? Which is like telling people what they don't know as to get in the way of those things, you know? Yeah. It's just like let's say like you're trying to make friends, or you're on a date. Like, don't piss the other person off, you know? Or like don't like throw like little snide comments or whatever the hell, right? Like or try to convince them of a worldview that maybe it's true, right? But it's just like, this is not the context for it. This is not the person you need to convince about this, you know? Yeah. Like,
it's a weird thing. If I would give like, we would be better off just using FE, like, and just like the ideas. That's not the point of us hanging out, is me like telling you my worldview and stuff. But at the same time, there is a feeling like that telling somebody your worldview or those things somehow helps them like you more, which is not really the case, right? It's almost like you feel like that's the way you bond with people, is to tell them, oh, check out this cool shit that I know or whatever. But like, really, it's a lot of times jarring, and it's annoying, and it's all these other things. When really just the shortcut is like, well, nobody cares about that. Like, you don't need to, you just need to be nice to the person, and company, and be open, and
I think it's the balance between like, because you might justify it and be like, oh, I'm just being myself, or I'm sharing my opinion, or like, you know, I'm not trying to piss them off. I am actually trying to like really soften it, and like be like, I'm not actually trying to hurt someone's, which is, I think all that stuff is true, right? But then I think that, I don't know, I think you just have to dial it back, right? It's just like any kind of lead function, just dial it back like 20%, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely seen you dial it back. Like, we had a one time in Discord, like a discussion on, I think it was on free will or something like that. And I forget who we were talking to, but like, I was pretty much in, it was like almost like an argument or whatever. And you were like, well, you don't have to think about it this way. Just it's, oh, I forget what you said exactly, but it was something about like having like a determinism sort of mindset helps you let people off the hook, basically. Like, okay, well, they're not trying to do it this way. This is just how it happens or whatever. But you were like not trying to force it. Whereas me, I'm like, no, listen, you're wrong. This doesn't make sense, the free will thing. I was like full on TI that round, but you were like trying to, okay, this might not be true, but it's a nice way to think about it this way. You know what I mean? So yeah. like seen that in action for sure. There's sometimes I don't know when you get into your like really the stuff you have like TI important, like you just start fighting over it because you're like, no, like this is the way it is, and you get wrapped up, and then you're into it, and like, oh fuck, this turned into an argument. Why did I do that? I told myself I wouldn't do this, right? And then
but you know what's crazy is that it's just like this is an evolution, right? It's just like starting from being argumentative to being like not argumentative but still kind of like making your point to not doing that, to just like to I don't know, have people like you or have like get along with people and all that, right? That I think like, if I'm honest, I think that is still TI. You know what I mean? Because it's just like you are building up like your character, and people are like, oh, you know what? That person doesn't argue, and he's like really easy to get along with, right? That's still, you're still like building up who you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so even
we found that works the best for you, not to argue, right? It's almost still
TI. Right. Yeah. That is a TI, right? Like my TI is like, oh, actually, you know what? It works a lot better. Like whatever I want in life, it works a lot better when I don't argue or when I do this.
Like right? FE is the more logical choice, right? Like
yeah. So I think really what to talk about a little bit like double siding, like what I see that they do that I am like less able to do is that I'm not willing to look whack for a goal. You know what I mean? Like I don't want, like, maybe if the right thing to do is to say something mean or like abrasive or whatever, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm not those things, and that's not how I want people to perceive me. I'm not willing to break that. You know what I mean? And then it kind of limits the things that you're able to do. And then also like, and another one is that I like to think that I'm very like even keel, and my like the thing that people like should know when they're around me is that I'm very even keel. I'm very like, I don't blow up. I'm always have a cool head, right? Like these are like traits of a brand or something, right? But then when you have those things, you're also they can find what you do, you know? Then it's just like, what if you are mad one day? Or maybe what if like being mad that day is the right thing to do? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I see with the double deciders, they're like a little bit okay with like, they're not, I think that's the thing with the lead function is that you want something that is like not realistic, right? It's just like maybe like a lead analysis, like I want to, they're not just saying like, oh, I want to get by with like a little bit less chaos. They're like, no, I want to just zero. Do you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, right? It's just like, and like, even like building significance or whatever, right? That's supposed to be the IP thing, is that not everyone's going to like you. And it's just like the degree that you might want that is like, is not realistic. You know what I mean? Like,
totally. Yeah.
So, so I think like that's kind of like what double siding is a little bit. It's like, or like one of the aspects of it is that like, just, you know, just dial it back a little bit. You can look stupid, or like, do you know what I mean? Like it's okay to be a little bit sloppier, you know? In life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like the double deciders are more like, they're okay with like, I guess abusing that second function a little bit, just because they know that they can bounce back, or like things aren't fixed, or they're not like completely fucked if they say the wrong thing or whatever. They know, like, for instance, with double deciders, they know the tribe is movable, so they're more like willing to be a little too TI, but they also know how to like balance things back out with heavy stuff. Whereas I feel like with us, it's sometimes we feel like if we overdo something, it's like, oh God, what have we done? Like, will things ever be back to normal? Most likely the person just is forgotten like the next day, and you know what I mean? So it's just like but you can probably, do you see that with NI where you just kind of like, you abuse it and you're like, it's fine, I'll SE later to achieve the balance here. It's not really a big deal.
I think what it is that it's also like, when I look at single deciding in the way that it's obvious to me, and obviously not all single deciders do this, is that they're invested personally in something being true or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's this whole thing about like, sorry, I'm gonna shit on single observing a little bit.
Do it.
There's this whole thing about like, oh, like lies and like, sorry for everyone who I've had this conversation with. I'm not really pointing you out. I'm just having a conversation, okay? This is like me being a single decider right now. But like this thing of like, oh, actually, I'm able to see the truth, right? Or I have some personal, like, specific understanding of the world, or I'm great at the observations. So like, I can always tell when someone's lying, or I can always, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're going so far into like that your perception that you're seeing that your perception or understanding is over encompassing, right? Like
Uh-huh.
like that on the flip side, like being invested in that, right? That is single observing, in my opinion, because to me it's just like let's say about people like lying to me, right? Or being able to tell, like, yeah, I can probably tell people are lying to some degree, and then probably some people are really good liars and I won't be able to tell. And then
Yeah.
in those cases I want to set up the situation that even if someone is lying, I don't get screwed, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you think that you are so good at telling if someone is like lying or not, that like you're just like so good at it, then you're not gonna do the like, oh crap, what if I'm wrong, right? Because like you're personally invested in that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I have an ENFP friend who's like, I'm very good at detecting when someone's manipulating me, controlling me, right? Like,
Yeah.
the thing is, he's very sensitive to it, but at the same time, he thinks people are controlling him when they're not. That's the problem. It's so overactive that he's getting false positives, right? Like somebody probably won't be able to manipulate him. I think he's right about that, but sometimes he thinks people are like, he thought I was manipulating him one time. I was like, no, like it was some other thing. And I was like, no, like we talked about, I was like, manipulate. What the fuck are you talking about? Like you spilled a beer and I like had you clean it up because you spilled it. Like I wasn't manipulating.
Yeah.
Anyways, this whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you miss like, but like what you said, it was a good point. I think about people with TI is like, you always like set yourself up to where you're going to be okay whether the person's lying to you or not. Like you, at least for me, I don't think I can really tell when people lie very easily. Like I'm probably not good at that.
Yeah.
But I'm never in a spot where like I'm relying on them to tell the truth or to, you know what I mean? Like I'm never going to be in that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Like anytime you're making like definitive statements like, oh, people can't manipulate me, or I can see everything, or whatever, right? That is like, I'm very uncomfortable with that, because that is basically like kind of going all in on observations, right? Is that it's like, I don't know, maybe you can, maybe, how do you know that? Can I, I think I don't generally think that I could be manipulated that easy, but I'm not going to say that nobody in the entire world can ever do it, or
how would they know, like when somebody lied to them successfully, how would they know that, right? Unless maybe they found out later. Most of the time you're not going to find out, so how would you know that, right? It's a bit of a bias, right?
Yeah. And what are you, like, you're not God, right? It's like that you can be like, what is the goal here? I just don't understand it,
Yeah.
But like but yeah, I'm sure that then we're doing that in
I think we'd like if we have like a worldview or an idea where like it's flawless, like this is the idea, this is cutting edge shit here, man, this is good science I've got here, you know what I mean? And then you like, so it's like, why would it be wrong? I've spent so much time on this in my head, and of course you're making all these false premises and all this shit that you don't even realize, and
or how could it not work for someone else, or like how could someone else's circumstance be different that it doesn't apply to them, or it's like they don't need to hear that, or like whatever else.
This is universal. It should work for everyone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like were you very like TI as a just child, or what were you like as a kid? Do you see those functions or?
So I'm gonna say I don't remember. Maybe I was like, again, I'm gonna balance the observations. Like I could be. I don't have any recollection.
Mm-hmm. Like you can't remember, or you're just not sure about the memories that you had?
No, I think I have a very, very clear memory of what happened. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm still trying to make sense of like how that is. I think it was DI in the sense of like, and it was decider in the sense that like I was like very focused on like, oh, I just want to kind of get along and just get along with people, right? And I think the more like kind of like typical TI stuff came out when I was 15. So like, so I moved to the US. So I grew up in the Netherlands. Okay. And then I moved to California when I was like 12. Okay. And I went to like a small private like English school over there, and then I moved to like a big public school over here. Okay. And like that change was super jarring. Like I was like I had not so that was jarring, right? And so I kind of like didn't have like friends for a long time, and then like that that I feel like kind of set the stage for. Hold on, let me rephrase it. So like this is like my subjective perspective of like how my TI came about, right? Okay, so I'm not saying this is true. So so whatever, didn't have friends for a while, and then I was also bad at school. I was always bad in school, right? Until I was like 15, and I kind of realized like, oh, I think I get it now, you know. And then when that kind of switched on, I was like, oh, this thinking thing is great. I'm just gonna use it for everything, you know.
Okay.
And so that was like a very TI period. But before that, I don't think it was like, it wasn't like very like thinkery in the way that you think. I'm sure it was TI, you know, or I'm sure like it was DI, but I don't remember it being like TI. I don't know. What is your like? Do you always remember being like thinky TI? You know?
There was like a sense of where like the thinking was attached to my identity. I think like when I was a kid, like I would try to finish my math homework quicker than everyone else, and I'd be mad if someone got a higher score than me. Like when I was like 5 or something like that, or like I remember when I was 4, I was in like this. It wasn't kindergarten; it was some other weird shit I was in before first grade, and like they would have this math program or this game on the computer, and it would just ask you random math questions, and they'd always come to me, be like, "Dave, how do you do this?" And I'd look at it and be like, "Oh, I don't know." And I would like stroke my chin, let me see, and I would try to like get by myself, trying to think of the math problem in my head because I didn't want to be wrong and I wanted to like impress the other kids. So yeah, I think for there I was always like a TI head.
Yeah.
When I was young, because that for me was like very important to be smarter than the other kids for some reason. And
yeah. I definitely did not think of myself as smart, nor did anyone tell me that I was when I was a kid. You know, dude. Yeah. Just because you're TI doesn't mean you're smart. You know, so
that's true. Yeah.
So like you also gotta like, but what's it called? I think maybe I did see it in the sense of like why was I also so bad at school? Is just that it was just like, oh, I don't. It was on some level. It's like, oh, I don't understand it. Like, why would I? You know, it wasn't like contentiously arguing against it, but it was just like, oh, I don't understand why school is good. You know, and I was not able. Maybe someone with TE in their stack or like more TE or less TI, they could just be like, oh, I see that this is kind of what you do. You know, and let's just do it.
So it was more of like. Was it you? It wasn't you not getting the material. Or was you getting like the purpose of this whole thing? Like, why am I doing this, or what's like the point?
Yeah,
or like,
it was. Okay. It was a little bit like why am I doing this? I also didn't have that much pressure on me to do it. So like, I'm just kind of like using like the TI-TE analogy. I think maybe someone with T would kind of like or be more okay with like, oh, this is just kind of like the expectation of like this is what you do, right? Whereas on the FE spectrum, I was like very okay with like, oh, you are polite just because people like it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not very. That's not where I am like go against the grain. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with even when I was a kid, like if I was crying or being a brat in public, like the thing that would instantly shut me like up is my parents being like, oh look, I think people are like looking at you. You know? And I'm like, what? People are you know, like I always had respect for that. I always had respect for like what is appropriate and like what people like. Do you know what I mean? Like I would get in line in that way, but I would not but not so much in whatever kind of school stuff, right? Of like like I guess what I'm saying is that expectations in this realm I would be okay with external expectations, but external expectations in like the school and kind of like work realm, I was like not, unless they made sense to me, I would not kind of like go along with them to my detriment, to be honest, you know?
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah. Well, for me, it was like the opposite. It was like the beginning of school was like super easy, and I was like really, I guess, motivated and wanted to do really well not because of school wanted me to, because I was like, you know, was getting off on like having good grades and stuff. And then like around middle school, I was just like, this is too much work. I don't feel like doing any of this shit. And it gets to where I just wouldn't do any homework, right? Just because I didn't really want to do it necessarily. And I barely got through high school. Like I almost failed out in middle school, and you couldn't get me to do anything. It was just like, I understand what's going on, but it's like, do I really have to do another worksheet? I'm just not going to do the worksheet. I don't care. And I wouldn't think about the consequences of that. Like those did not exist, that there would be consequences for this. Like if you ask me what's going to happen if you don't turn this in, it's like, probably my grade's going to suffer. But like, it wasn't real to me that there would be future consequences for it. And it was just like, I'm not doing any of this shit. Barely got through high school, but
yeah. Me too. I don't know if I technically got through high school, but they gave me a degree.
Yeah, well then, hey, it's
But
working out for you. I mean, yeah,
yeah. I think they didn't check. I was actually low on credits, I think, but they just whatever gave it to me anyway.
that's
Um,
good.
but
But they probably knew
yeah,
you were smart anyway. Like, dude, just let this guy pass. He's gonna be fine. Like,
yeah. I, and I think that I wasn't like a conscientious objector towards school, like for the most part.
Mhm.
But I just kind of I just like couldn't get myself to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, it's yeah. Couldn't get my yeah. You're not like externally motivated to do work very easily, and so it's like, and if you're not internally motivated, then you're just like fucked, right? Like I literally slept every day in class. I just would wake up
yeah,
for like wrestling practice or whatever, and like that's it. It would just fucking sleep. It's like I'm not doing this shit.
yeah.
College was
Yeah.
college different for you though? Do you feel like you
Col-
thrived a bit more?
no, I thrived in any environment where it was just the test. I got screwed up
Mm.
in like there was like a lot of homework.
Same. Yeah.
Because again it was this thing of like, oh, I already like it's just like pushing up against something that's like not movable, you know? Like
Mm.
I felt like, oh, okay, why not just test me on the test, like in
Yeah.
person? Like, why do I have to do homework, you know,
Yeah.
for it?
Why can't we just
It's like,
demonstrate that we know the thing instead of having to do all this busy work? That's annoying, right? That was what I was thinking.
which is like fair enough, but like who are you talking to? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, right? It's just like again, like to kind of shit on the observers a little bit, or maybe fuck it, I'll do it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just that
I'll
it's just
shit on them
like
too if they feel better. Yeah.
it's just um like some complaints sound like to me like who are you complaining to? Like the universe, like God, like I get you know it's not fair, but it's just like where are you putting your complaints to? You know,
Yeah.
like this is just what it is. And so like and in that same token, like sure, okay, maybe you know I'm doing well on tests and I shouldn't have to do the homework, but like nobody is here to hear it. You know, like
Yeah.
you think you're going to change the school system? That's just how it works. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think that's
and I think
that's also like a like masculine TI, feminine FE thing where it's like you kind of recognize the system for what it is, and you're just like, okay, how do I get like around it? I'm just not okay. I just won't do a lot of homework. I'll do good on the test. Okay, but you're not like resisting the system, or you're necessarily like, why the system? It's just like, well, dude, like because there is a system. That's how these things are. It's not going to be good for everyone. You know, whatever. Right? Like you feel like you kind of be more accepting of the observation related stuff, and you just try to work around it. I think.
Yeah, I was resentful for it. I think that now I've like mellowed out a little bit more on that school realm. I would have been fine because just like I'm not like making a point. I don't know what it is exactly. You know, like I'm really like these days I've really been focused on like how can I respect TE more? You know, and I'm not saying that TE is school, but it also is a little bit. But like because it is like if I look at what FE is, and when I look at like when I look at like people who have FI, when I kind of feel like they're being like naive, right? It's like, what are those circumstances for me? Like where anytime like I feel like FI is being and so I think that like not respecting like, hey, this is how the world works, or like me being like, oh, you know, if I want to get to like I don't know some kind of like level, if I want to be rich or whatever, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna figure out my own way to do it. Why not just do what people do? You know what I mean? Like what is the normal way to do it? You know, that you have to give like some respect.
There's a reason there is this normal way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's funny if you listen to like a lot of like kind of like older like even Jordan Peterson. So we're typing Mark Manson recently for this past week, right?
Yeah.
Who is TI guy. So him and Jordan Peterson are talking, and at one point they are kind of processing like, oh, you know, sometimes like it's just like the regular societal way to do things is the right way, you know, like you have to realize that maybe you are an idiot, right? Or maybe you don't know, maybe you're not that great or whatever, right? And that so like you kind of have to hedge for that, right? It's just like going back to the observer thing, is that you have to hedge for the fact that maybe you're dumb or maybe you're whack or maybe you're whatever, right? Like you can't, but and that part of being TI, I 100% relate to, is that I might be whack, then I'll drive over fucking bridge, you know? It's just like if I'm whack, I'm ready to go 100% in on it, and then I'm ready to deal with whatever the consequences are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna hedge for me being a dumbass, you know? Like that's just like
Yeah,
don't
you're
know,
not going to bet
like
against yourself. Yeah, why would you?
I'm not gonna bet against myself, exactly, right?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
so, and I think
But
that's again,
sometimes
I think that's another.
do you find like the TE way is like just the easier way, and you're like surprised by it? Like, wait, this standard way that everyone does was actually way easier than the thing that I had planned. And it's like, ah, fuck.
I am surprised and resentful for it. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that
Like one
yeah.
time I made this bike on my own when I was in like middle school, like I just from parts and different shit. I even had these cool like spokes that were the black ones that were like not metal, they were like some other kind of material and stuff. Like this is such a badass bike. I made it myself, designed it on my own. And then one year my mom like bought me like a bike, like not even like an expensive one, and I got on it and it was so much better than that fucking bike I made myself. And I was so mad. I was like, how could this be better? Like, well, of course it's better. It's by like a fucking actual company that knows how bikes work. Why the fuck would I
Yeah. Oh man. Oh shit.
It's like just standard TI there, I think. Yeah. Sometimes TI is dumb as fuck, honestly. It's so fucking stupid and just weird. And just like, why did you do it like that? You could have just, there's a simple way that just tried and true, but you went with like, no, I have to do it my way, which sometimes works out great. And you come up with this new amazing way to do stuff. And it really does work for you better than, than everything else. But most of the time not, right? It's kind of a, taking a risk. Yeah.
There's a benefit. Like there's even, like with the FIs, right? You do appreciate the fact that they have like clear, like whether it's even demon FIs, right? They have like stuff that they like care about and like, you know what I mean? Like that's like kind of like honed in. I don't think that I would necessarily have that. And I do look to them and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like pretty inspiring that they have that, right? Like, and so there's good sides to that, and then there's like everything has like a downside, right? Like, I think introverted functions generally are kind of like idealistic in some ways, and extroverted functions are just like objective, right? Like an extroverted function talking to an introverted function is like, oh kiddo, that's not how the world works, like. And so I'm sure the NEs look at us and like, oh my, even like back to the Mark Manson and Jordan Peterson thing. Like Mark Manson is like showing his shitty book that has like two concepts. Sorry, like I that's just like my impression of it. And like Jordan Peterson, who's like read everything that's ever happened. He's like, oh, you mentioned this. Yeah, Nietzsche talked about this, and so talked about this. Like people have been talking about this thing you discovered for hundreds of thousands of years, and multiple people, and there's like a whole conversation about it. And like, you know what I mean? And like to the end, I was like, oh, I discovered it on my own, like this one thing.
To me, it felt like resampled like Alan Watts or like Buddhist principles, a lot of it. Like, cause I read his book a little bit too. See, I couldn't get to the first chapter because it's like, okay, like I know where all this is coming from.
Everybody knows this already, right? It's just like that,
Like, so.
Yeah.
But it's like at the same time, even though like the objective functions like are looking at the subject and be like, and most of the time they're right, but like every once in a while when the subjective function does strike at gold that the objective one wouldn't have seen or been able to get to, I think. So it's kind of like there's effectiveness, and then there's almost what's the opposite of that? Effectiveness, and I don't want to say genius because I feel like I'm sucking myself off of that, but like the effectiveness and randomness, I don't know. But there's like you know what I'm trying to say though?
Yeah, I do. I think it's kind of like I would say kind of like aspiration and being kind of realistic, right? It's just like you can do what's out there, and that's like realistic, and that's also just like true, it's already out there, or you can kind of like go for something better, right? So like a lot of like and I think you need to ultimately kind of like have both, like as I'm seeing like I in my head I kick the ass of the FIs a lot, right? It's just like, come on, dude, like this is not what is just because that I agree that that's the high moral thing, but that's just not people are like, people are not like that. And like if you're gonna go out in the world assuming that that's what things should be and yada yada yada, right? And then on the flip side, when I like I also have to do that with TI though, like I think that's I know David Shan like talk about like oh TI and FE, but TI and FE are like not that like off, like it's not that hard to find, or I don't know, it's not that crazy hard to find the balance between TI and FE. And I would say also like FI and TE, right? Because that's just like, oh, what do I really care about? And then how do I go out and get it, right? I'm not personally invested in a specific way to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I just care about this thing, like I care about cats, or how can I get the most cats, or whatever, whatever. Like, that's a high, beautiful goal. And so like, I don't think that like the function balance is like that big of a deal, but I think that the different axis, like whether you're like if you're an observer, it's going to be like whatever your observer axis, and your decider, like for us, I think that the TE and the FI, it is like they're like that's kind of like where it's at, like understanding that perspective. And it's difficult to even know what it is, like I don't even see it half the time. Like I will say that I'm like TE blind quite a bit, yeah. So I think it's imperative to even like get a understanding of what it is. Like you should know if you're gonna be TI, or if you're gonna be FI or whatever else, you should know what the other perspective is, right? And then choose the right one, like, yeah. And also just to kind of go back, just to interact with people. Like I think kind of like discovering and kind of like learning about like what, with OP, like one of the main things that I got from it is like, I think it's like not so much like how I see myself. I think that I kind of know what I'm like, whether it has the terms or not. It's more like what I'm like in contrast to other people, and then how like are other people experiencing the world. And for me, the big difference is like the TFI, because I saw that there was like a little bit of disconnect, but like couldn't understand what it was, and then how to bridge that gap, and I think that like coming to more and more of an understanding on that is like the keys. So just even taking like I know what I'm triggered by, right? Like I'm kind of triggered by or the way that I'm TE triggered is that like when what is it? When I'm like or like things that I don't like the idea of, is just like, oh, having to kind of like talk about my accomplishments, or like writing a resume, or having LinkedIn, right? It's just like or you know what I mean? Like trying to have like kind of selling myself in that way, right?
Yeah, selling yourself. Yeah, for sure.
And the TEs don't like it either, right? But it's just like in the same way that there's parts of FE that I don't like, or TI that I don't like. It's just like, hey, that's just how it is. You just have to do that. And I think that seeing that like helps me understand like whenever I'm kind of like put in that position where I kind of feel like objectified in the thinking realm, right? Like, oh, like what have you done? Oh, you're not like this. You're not like, you don't have like this accomplishment or whatever. That means like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're, I don't know, like you're
like some sort of standards you're supposed to meet, right? Like you're like, you're not at this standard and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't know where I'm at actually. Because I don't have this or that, which you're used to seeing, doesn't mean I'm not successful. Like who defines what's successful and what's, what isn't necessarily, like, like you feel like they don't know the full story, I guess, right?
Yeah. And so I think you have to put yourself in their shoes and then kind of see that side of it, because kind of half the world is seeing you as that, or like they're seeing that, right? So I think you have to do that, and then also just to understand like because and then I see other people get triggered by stuff that I don't get triggered by, and that I think is just like, hey, we're just having a conversation, right? Which is kind of like the FE FI thing, right? Like I've been speaking to like that. Yeah. Like I've been speaking to
FIs get triggered by FE, and I've never really understood. I feel like they're manipulating my emotions. So like, well, they're just being nice. Like, is that manipulating your emotions, or is that just them trying to build rapport with you? I don't know. Like, I don't. Maybe some FI people can chime in, because I don't really get it.
I think it's like they get triggered by like anytime people's value is put on a spectrum, right? Like for example, do you know what I mean? Like if you're like, I don't know, or just the fact that things are like not a meritocracy. Like sometimes like, oh, hey, if you're tall, then that means people will like you more, or you'll get a better job. Or like if you're pretty, then you'll get a better, it's like, it's what's the big deal? Like that's just kind of like what people value, It's like that's just how it is, right? And I'm kind of like rambling all over the place, but I think just understanding where everybody's at and like what they perceive and what they're not seeing, what I start with, what I'm not seeing, like that. I think that's like that's a really like important part to like relate to people.
Yeah.
And then also just like see more of what's out there in the world so that you can make better TI decisions, right?
Is that kind of why like you got interested by? Oh, what's happening?
Sorry, I got it. My laptop's about to die. I'm gonna go inside.
Okay. Well, you find a charger. I need to look for. Let me look for questions while you're doing that.
All right. Oh shit.
What is it with what is this shit? What is it with TISEs and mild? Don't put that on us. I have no idea what that weird is about. Maybe Uzair knows something about this. Wait, shit, are we still live? Am I still connected? Nope, I'm still connected. Can you guys hear me? Somebody type something into the chat if you don't mind. I don't know if I'm dead or who's there. Oh, there we go. Chaos. Great. Okay. Chaos. Okay. Well, why that's, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to just say hi to everyone. Hi, Catherine. Oh, he's left. Hi, Anna. Mira, I don't think I've seen you on here before, but hello and welcome. Ian, what's up, dude? How you doing? Sadet, good to see you. Yeah, it was a very SF background. Like Uzair's camera is like on point today. Hey, what's up, Uzair? I'm doing the FE rounds while you were.
Oh, nice.
Fixing the stuff there.
Sorry about that.
Okay, and back to the original question. What is it with TISEs in My Little Pony? Do you know anything about that? I feel like we're just being trolled.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know anything. Sorry, Mr. Dog, I have no idea, man. I think the My Little Pony thing's a bit weird. I would like it when it's adults that are obsessed with it. I don't really get that, but
oh yeah,
maybe there are some ISTPs that like it, but I'm not one of them. All right, let's see what else we got. Dion, how's it going, man? How you doing? Hi, Victoria. How's it going? Glad to see you on here.
Hey.
And any other questions? Listening. A is for egg rolls. Hello. Oh, I know your name actually, but I can't think of it. And sorry, I don't think we've met, but I know your name. I think.
Oh, Emily. Hey.
Emily, that's what. Oh, I should have known that. Thank you. Hi, Emily. Seems like you guys agree on a lot of the stuff about being a lead MTI. Do you see any differences that stem from SE versus second versus NI second? Uzair, I'll let you take that one.
Differences between you and I don't know. Like, I think it's a little bit hard to say. But I think that I can talk about like generally SE. I speak to Kat and Ephraim all the time, and I think one thing that we kind of troll we troll each other on like to me it's just like everything is kind of the same. You know, it's just like you can like you can I don't know you can generally kind of explain things and things will not kind of like very I don't know. What do you think? I'm rambling here.
I think we're pretty much this. I think just the animal order I notice a difference, but I don't notice like
yeah.
S versus N because it's I think fairly balanced on both sides usually.
I agree. Yeah.
It would probably be different if we were both 12-year-olds and we were taught or something. Maybe you'd be super NT and I would be super ST. I don't know, but I feel like as you get older, you balance it. So I don't like with the S versus N. I don't think there's a big difference, but I think there is like with Blast. I see a difference. I think you're able to blast a lot more. Like me, it's hard for me to get more than a couple sentences out most of the time. Like I can't. But I don't think you have like much trouble with that. That's really the only difference.
Also, yeah. I think I would agree with that. And then I think the S versus N just comes out of that, right? Like because I want to blast and because of like, let's say the sleep first, I'm like, oh, I gotta narrow down my point and have come to understanding, right? And so
you have a lot of ammunition to blast about if you've processed a lot of stuff too, I think.
Yeah.
Like if anyone asks you something that you've like slept on, you're gonna have a lot to say about it, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I do sleep, so it's gonna be maybe not so easy. So yeah, Victoria, I don't think there's like a big difference. At least not that I'm aware of. But more in animal order, being sleep first versus consume first. Maybe there's
Yeah, and I think whatever difference is, like, you guys can probably observe it if there is one in this interview, right?
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us, Victoria, after you watch, and be like, I know that Dave's more like this, Uzer's more like this. Let's see what else.
Catherine says, answered Catherine's question about animal stacks. You can talk about our animal
was it
stacks.
the bottom or? I can wait. Where is it at? Is it the beginning? Middle?
It's right after Victoria's question.
How did I miss that? It's right there. Hey guys, love it. If there's time, could you talk about your animal stack and how it makes you? Oh, okay. I guess we kind of. Well, is there more? What's play last like for you? I think like I don't understand what play last. I don't know if I know what it did, like, because you don't have a problem going back and forth with stuff, like just knowing you like personally. I don't really necessarily know that you're in play last. But maybe online you can't see it. Maybe it's more like actually doing stuff together is more where the play last is. I don't know. Like, how would you characterize that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that it's like a little bit of like, to some degree, it's just the animal stack, right? So like, if you're sleep over play, and then you're consume over blast, and then you're an info dom, right? You're not missing blast, then you're just gonna be play last, right? And then I think I think first of all, I don't understand what play is, right? I'm play last. I think the part that I generally don't do is like a back and forth of like an open-minded back and forth, let's say, right? It's like, I'm gonna throw something out, and then what do you think about it, right? The mode I prefer is like the info dom consume blast, like, this is what I think about this thing, and then you consume it, and then you tack on what you think about it in a kind of clear and concise way, and then spit it back to me, and I'll add to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and in general life, I don't know if this is TI or if it's last or sorry, play last, is just I don't like that many questions, or like I don't like getting phone calls, or like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's who likes phone calls anymore, you know? But
yeah, I don't know many people are like, I love it when people just randomly call me in the middle of the day and I have to stop whatever I'm doing. And oh my God, that's so much fun. Like I don't feel that way either. It's kind of like, especially when it's not a number that you know, when you just get like a random call and you're like, is this important? I don't have this in my phone. Or even if it is someone you know, it's like, I don't want to talk to that person right now, even though I like the person. I'm like, I'd have to stop.
Yeah.
Something, no one is
right.
Yeah, I guess, it's hard to see. Yeah, I think, but yeah, play versus, so I don't know. I don't think anybody would see us together and necessarily think that I have play higher than you, or like maybe a little bit, but there wouldn't be like, oh, Dave Savior play, Uzer's not. I don't know. Maybe it is like, I guess, maybe you prefer more structured exchange, but I don't know. Even in the Discord, I feel like you're definitely a lot more, at least playful. I don't know if playful relates to the function of play, but you're definitely like, I would say more about that than probably, I don't know. Like it's.
Yeah. I think what David Chan would say is they would be like, when you're trying to type someone, right? Like supposedly if they would watch this interview and be able to type you as that and then type me as me, right? And so like, how would they do that, right? And I think that they would probably do it in a way that, like, if supposedly like play is like when you're speaking, you've not it's not coming from like known information. Do you relate to that?
No, it is coming from known information. Like if I don't know it, then I don't say it. You know, like that's also
okay. Yeah.
That's so right. It's like, well, one thing I can point out is like I can't start something. I can only react to stuff. Like you have to say something, and then I'll know what to say based on what you say. But like if you don't say anything, then I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's even in like even with sports and like with video games and stuff, it's also like I can only react to stuff. Like when I boxed, I wasn't the guy that just ran you over with stuff. I would always react to what you did. And in video games, really very passive, reacting to the other player more than like having my own way of like doing it. Like that feels more natural to me than like starting off with something. Oh, I know what to blast, or I know what to just go on. Like that's hard for me.
Yeah. I would say probably that seems like the difference, right? Because like you're basically describing like what you rely on as like a skip, right? I think the skip animal stack is all about like, I want to hone in my like instincts, right? Just like I don't want to have to like do you know what I mean? Like even with boxing, it's just that if I kind of like go through all the scenarios and I can and it's just like the NI just gets condensed through the mass of experience, then I'll be much faster. And it's true, it is way faster, right?
Yeah.
Rather than me being like, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that and then I'm going to do this. Because like what you lose in kind of like fluency, or what you gain in planning, you lose in fluency, right? In the quickness of response.
It's like eventually if you plan enough, it becomes fluent because you plan for everything and then everything condenses into one sort of very malleable thing that fits all situations, right? Like you'd like the Bruce Lee concept, flowing like water. That's like if you get to the end of all the planning stuff and you think of every scenario, you practice every scenario, eventually it condenses to like just a very like simple, very reactionary sort of state that you can do anything in any situation because you've looked at all situations, right? Like there's like a core NI that comes from that, from all this, I guess, right? I don't know if
I definitely feel like I peacock that, you know, like I like, but in reality, I'm not like going through gaining a bunch of experience to like hone in my natural instincts.
Okay. Again, Jake, Catherine, I hope that answered your question. Feel free to follow us up with something if it wasn't clear. But yeah, let's see. Is there any other questions? Yeah, who are you calling old school? How dare you shit on the observers on my channel? No, I was egging you on, but
yeah.
Old school.
Did I say old school? Was it about TE? The TEs, right?
Yeah, it was about TE. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. I think with school, maybe. No, was it school? I don't know.
If I remember. Yeah.
Oh, here's another one. Dave, what do you get triggered by? Like in general, I think I get triggered by other TI people a lot, actually. Like when they're fucking off on the FE, when they're ignoring the FE. Sometimes I get triggered. Do you ever feel like that way, Uzair? You see other TI people like just completely ignoring.
I do, especially.
Yeah.
I do, especially in the group, because I'm like, yo, like dial it back. We have a reputation to maintain to like not be TI. So
we don't want
like everybody.
We're feeding into the stereotype that we're just dickheads, you know?
Yeah,
please stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. So yeah, definitely I get triggered by my own bullshit, I guess. Like, or what I would do, or the times that I fucked up, if I see people also doing that same thing, then I get triggered. I think because like I also direct that hate to myself if I am like over TIing. So obviously that hate is going to be directed at others too if they do it, right? So I think it's just like you like a universal. Yeah.
Well, and what's hella funny is that, like, again, speaking to Anna and then like Kat and Grim, like realizing that the way that TIs communicate, it's also like through FE. You know what I mean? It's like when you see like a TI arguing, you're not like, hey, if you do this better, like you will get a better result, right? That's not our reaction. It's like, what are you doing? Like that's a FE shaming, like, and so like. Yeah, it's just funny that the TI still communicate through FE and the FIs, like even like a lead FI still has TE and will still kind of like like argue their points in a TE way.
Yeah, and I think like, well, how would you could you characterize the difference between communicating with FE and TE, or have you noticed like a difference with that?
So what was that? Sorry.
Like, hey, do you notice a difference between people who have FE and people who have TE and how they communicate?
Yeah, like there's a big difference. I think it's like it's a little bit hard to put in words. I don't think it's like so obvious that you can immediately.
It's like
tell, but I think
you see it, right? Like you somehow like
yeah. I think you can like you can hear TI and then you can hear I think like I think I see it more like when you kind of reprimand someone or when you're kind of like putting your opinion, right? I think that the TIs they'll only argue with someone that they think that will listen to what they're saying, or that there's some kind of like baseline rapport. I'm not gonna argue with someone who I don't have rapport with. I'm just gonna like say that they're whack or they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a you know like a feeling shame kind of communication, or like a yeah. I don't know if you relate to that.
Yeah, totally. Do you also feel like TE tends to be more direct? I feel like they don't sugar it up so much sometimes as well. But I think I don't know, that's also a stereotype. So I don't know if maybe that's really the truth. But like,
Yeah, I think what it is, and like now at this point, I'm like literally copy pasting the conversations that I have with Kat and Ikram. But I think like TEs, what TE is like meant to do is that gives you like little feedback when you, not just from one person, right? Just like you're getting like a little bit of T, a little bit of T, a little bit of T. So it's like it is. Whenever I see it, and whenever I feel like, oh, we need to tell this person something, the TE response is like, to me, is like very watered down, you know, and it's and especially like the TE double siding one is that look, we're going to be around this person for a long time. Let's just kind of like little like nudge, right? A little bit nudges. And I think FE is the same way. It's just that you're like a little bit of like, you know, I'll maybe like clown you a little bit, and maybe I'll like, you know, frown a little bit, and that'll like nudge you in the right direction. Whereas the TI thinking feedback, it is like very cutting and just like I am just going to tell you everything that you're doing that's wrong, you know?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like, okay. Oh, that makes sense. It's probably, a better way with the TE to a little bit at a time, a little nudge here and there. So unfortunately, I got to cut this thing short. I don't know how we like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already like 10 o'clock. So I have a handpan lesson at 10. So I actually have to get off here. We can do, if you're down, sure, we can do like a part 2 if you'd be up for that.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like we actually didn't get much of the growth talk questions. I think we just kind of, both of us like rambled about like, I think it was all really good stuff, but like, yeah, I feel like there's still a lot left to be talked about. If you're interested, we can do like maybe another one. Or
yeah, I'm down.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds
Sorry,
good.
guys, short. I hope you all had a wonderful time and hope everything was great. And thanks for coming and listening. And yeah, leave some comments if you have some questions or if you want to shit on us or anything. It's totally fine. I'd love to hear from you, except if you're shitting on us. But you know, either way, a comment's a comment, right? All right, guys. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.